Hi folks, this is All the Fruit, and autumn is mango season in Europe. If you didn't know that Europe has its own domestic mango production, you can be forgiven. Even a lot of Europeans don't know that. Well, of course, if you ask them, they would say, yeah, there are some French and Spanish and Dutch and British islands and colonies in America, in Africa, in the Indian Ocean and so on. Well, mostly islands nowadays, which produce their own mangoes, but Europe, continental Europe, nah. And actually, yeah, until about 10-15 years ago, the domestic European mango production was so small that it was hardly ever being exported out of the mango producing areas. But even 20 years ago, southern Spain, namely the region of Andalusia, with places like Costa Tropical or Costa del Sol, like in English tropical coast or sun coast, some of the most subtropical places of Europe had a sizable mango productions. Nowadays, Italy and Greece and other European countries are also starting their own commercial mango production, usually on the islands, Greece mostly on Crete, Italy on Sicily, but in Spain, they are really grown on the European continent. And until recently, I thought the only mango which is grown on a large commercial scale is Osteen, this thing here on the right. And it's true, it still dominates the Spanish and thus the European mango market. More than 50% of the total production are Osteen. But there are also other mango varieties, which unfortunately usually are being consumed in Spain, often even right in the areas of production because they are produced in such small quantities. But they are starting to emerge on European and also German markets. For me, like the time around September, October, sometimes into November is a great time for one reason: the Spanish mangoes arrive. They are usually much tastier than mangoes from America or Africa or Asia because they don't, well, there are several reasons. The main reason is the mangoes from America or Asia, they travel for weeks by ship. The mangoes from Spain, they travel for one day by truck. The other reason is those ripen in the dry European summer. And in southern Spain is more or less part of the Sahara, so the summers are extremely hot. So yeah, European mangoes are great. Osteen has been available for quite a long period this year, maybe for almost 2 months. I bought maybe 20-30 crates of Osteen and ate them. I gave a couple away, but ate most of them. But yeah, I buy them, although they are more expensive than other mainstream mangoes. Here usually in the cheap supermarkets you get mangoes for €1.50 a piece. Of course, in the expensive supermarkets they are more expensive mangoes. There are mangoes which go up to 10, even 15 euros a piece. When you have Osteen in the cheap supermarkets, in the cheap big mainstream supermarkets, they are usually more expensive than the other mangoes. They are like, well, the lower range is €1.25, the upper range like €2.50 for cheap supermarkets. They can be more expensive in expensive supermarkets. Well, like 2 weeks ago, in the last days of October, I went to one of the big German mainstream supermarkets. I saw the sign said Spanish mango Keitt, and the price was lowered from like €2 something to €1.50. I checked the different crates, and really there were crates with Keitt mangoes from Spain. They also produce Kent, but this was labeled as Keitt, and it looks like Keitt to me. Keitt and Kent are quite similar, not just the name, but this looks like Keitt, and it said Keitt. Well, they also still had a lot of Osteen, so what I did, I was in a car at this time, fortunately. So we traveled through all those supermarkets in the region and bought all the crates with Osteen mangoes which were still available. Yeah, they were a little bit cheaper than 2 or 3 days before. And also they were the last, because Osteen was being replaced by Keitt. And since then, for the last 2 weeks, there's been only Keitt, Spanish Keitt mangoes in the different supermarkets. I haven't seen Osteen in November this year, which is a pity because Osteen is usually superior to Keitt. Yeah, they are cheaper now. So cheap that I wonder if it's really worth growing them in Spain, like mangoes for €1.50. I mean, for €2.50, yeah, it might be worth growing them in Spain, but the €1.50, America or Africa, Asia can supply mangoes for the same price or even cheaper. Well, anyways, let's look at the mangoes. They're quite good. As I said, they're also quite good size. So you might think mangoes, subtropical to tropical fruit grown in Europe, they should be puny, they should be tasteless. No, on the opposite. Nice and big and usually very tasty. Here the Osteen, the typical elongated shape, although of course there are also some which are less elongated. This looks more like a Kent than an Osteen, but it is an Osteen. Here the Keitt, the color is a little bit different, quite typical for Keitt. Yeah, not so elongated, a little bit more flattish. If you look at the flesh, well, my phone shows them more yellow. I see them a little bit more orange, but yeah, the color of the flesh seems to be the same for both. Here the Keitt, the piece fell apart when I was cutting it, but you can see not too many fibers. Smell-wise, they are both aromatic. The Osteen a little bit more than the Keitt. I'm surprised the Keitt is so aromatic. Might be good. I mean, I might be convinced after this video and start buying Keitt mangoes. My crates of Osteen are almost empty now. I think I'm down to 3 crates or so. Yeah, have to leave this country and go to some warm place that produces mangoes. Well, let's try those. Well, the Keitt is sweet like honey, although I'm under the impression that near the seed it's less sweet and more watery. Well, next to the skin it's more sweet and more firm. Now the Osteen, more fibrous. I'm surprised. It's a bit less sweet actually. This Keitt is not bad. I bought just one of those and like 80 Osteen on that day. Maybe just 60 Osteen, but still. I'm really surprised. This one is more sweet than this one. Well, I mean, they ripened in the same climate. I was never very convinced by Keitt. The couple times I tried it here in Germany, it was usually quite watery, not too sweet, but this one is good. I didn't expect the Keitt to beat an Osteen. Wow. I'm impressed. The Osteen is more aromatic. This is a good and a bad thing. When the Osteen is ripe, it's nice and aromatic. But when it's overripe, the flavor becomes overwhelming and not so pleasant anymore. Even before it's rotting, it's still perfectly intact, but the flavor can be unpleasant when it's too ripe. But yeah, folks, that's one main reason I'm doing these videos. Almost on every video, there is some great surprise even for myself. So folks, I'm really glad I bought this one Keitt. I will finish both mangoes now. Well, first I finish the video, then I'll finish the mangoes. And then, if this Keitt still convinces me after I've eaten it all, think tomorrow I'll go to the supermarket and buy a couple Keitt mangoes. Because you always learn something new. So Keitt from Spain seems to be almost as good as Osteen from Spain. Maybe it's more the climate and the fact that they were picked more ripe than some mangoes from other continents which come to Europe. So folks, those were the Keitt and Osteen from Spain. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the interesting and fruit-rich German supermarkets. And don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.